Hi YouTube, and welcome to another episode of On the Road Tuning with me, AC Dodd. And this time I've got a lovely couple of 850's. Or are they? So back on the road again, and here I am over in Axbridge. And I've got this beautiful minivan. Lovely little van. And this one is a little 850. So let's get stuck in and see what we can find. Okay, so we dug a little deeper. We got 3 ohm coil, which is all good because we got points ignition, so that's all sensible. All the wiring's correct, which is excellent. I haven't checked the power yet, but I will do once that's running. We've got 1.5k leads, which all look fine, so I'm not going to change them, even though they've been on there a while. We've also, as you may already see, but we've got new spark plugs, so let's have a quick look at those. So looking at the plugs, we see the usual problem, which is way too rich. So more on that in a minute, but if we have a look, we'll also see we've got a whole smorgasbord of different plugs. So we've got resistor plug there, which is a 7, another resistor 7, we've got a champion resistor 9, and then we got a non-resistor 5. So yeah, and even the non-resistor 5 is running black, so that means that we are way too rich and obviously had the wrong plugs. And of course, you guessed it, the gaps are all too big as well. So we'll get those changed, but first let's go and have a look to see why it's running so rich. So for people who know SUs, you can see the problem here is that jet in the bottom there is way too low. And what I mean by that is that jet there with that little hole in the middle should be almost, or within about 40 or 50 thou from the top of that bridge, but clearly somebody's got this wound right down. So what we're going to do is wind that up before we start the engine, because what we don't want to do is set up the new plugs. Okay, this is a classic problem I come out to on cars, and the jet's been wound right down by somebody who's attempting to tune the engine. So the engine's not running properly because it's too lean typically. There's been modifications applied to the engine, runs with flat spots, so they just wind the mixture nut in the vain hope that they're actually improving things. Well, in actual fact, unfortunately, all they're doing is washing the cylinder bores down, wearing the rings out, and just basically ruining the engine. So yeah, it's not big, it's not funny, it's just pure incompetence what happens there. So you know, I'm not directing this at the owner or any particular owners. I see this very commonly, and it's not you know, confined to owners. Professionals do it as well, or so-called professionals do it, where you take it to a garage and they say, yeah, we can tune that for you, and they just turn, you know, wind the mixture nut, and all they're doing is effectively destroying your engine by washing it out with fuel, because although the engine might fuel right at high revs because the needles was too lean, when you come back to idle, that is just washing the engine out, and when it sits in traffic, it blackens the plugs up, causes misfires, and makes a hell of a mess of your engine, dilutes your oil. I mean, it's just horrific. So anybody who doesn't believe that is effectively incompetent, and they need to get some training to understand how the SU works and the effect it actually has on the engine. Anyway, so moving on, let us go back to the carburetor to see a further issue. Okay, so I've corrected the position. I haven't measured it, but it's about, I've put it about there. That should start and run. Obviously, once I did correct it, I did notice that when you move the choke mechanism, the actual jet wasn't coming all the way up. So I've had to bend the linkage to give me the necessary pull on the jet to actually make it fully return, which it's now doing. So one of the things you have to understand is if you start messing around with choke mechanisms on SU carbs, you have to check that they work properly, and that, because otherwise, if you have the choke out, and you can see that goes all the way down, when you let that go, that doesn't come all the way up, and stay up, it'll start to run rich, or you'll have variable mixture as it moves up and down with the car and the way the car's been driven. So all I'm saying here is it's imperative that your choke mechanism works, because what you don't want to do is get it stuck open and ball wash the engine, and we all know how expensive that can be. So we're not out of the ball wash woods yet, unfortunately. The choke on this particular carburetor was, although it would return mostly, just the last little bit, it was getting stuck. So basically the mechanism wasn't able to haul that jet all the way up. So I had to bend the arm and reset the mechanism and lubricate it, because it was basically lacking lubrication, which was part of the reason why it was getting stuck. So it's just one of those things to understand, is if the carburetor has been set rich and the jet's been down, then there may be a problem with getting the jet all the way up where there's detritus and stuff where it's been down for so long. So in this particular case, that was the case. And then obviously once I'd reset that height, I had to then make sure that the mechanism worked properly. But again, I'm showing you this so that you understand that it's imperative that that choke mechanism works perfectly, because if it doesn't and it leaves the jet down, it will end up wearing your engine. Okay, so off camera, I've changed the needle. It was an ADE needle. I put an AAF needle in. I've also looked at the engine, and when I've looked down the cylinder bores, I've determined by the process of elimination, I think this is actually a 998. So the engine number, I don't think is the right one for the engine. So I think this is a high compression 998 that's been put into masquerade as an 850, which no matter, just means it goes better. Anyway, now looking at the timing, we've got 53 degrees of maximum advance. Clearly problematic. So we're going to retard that now down to a sensible figure. And then we're going to look at getting that carburetor dialed in. Okay, so yeah, interesting. Owner told me that both the cars featured on this video were 850 engines. As it turns out, I don't believe they were. And certainly this particular engine had flat top pistons in it, and it was an A+ engine, so it looked exactly like a 998 high compression later engine. Which was all good, so there's no problem with that, because the owner was very happy that he actually had a bigger engine, so he's got more power. But the point to note is, back in the day, this was actually quite common. People had 850 engines, and they might have had a 998 stuffed under the bench, because they were cheap and plentiful back then. So people would often pull out the 850 engine and put in a 998 for a little bit more pep. So it makes perfect sense in this particular case that I'd come across them. Okay, so ignition timing, yeah, you've probably noticed that that's 53 degrees of crank advance, which is way too much. So this poor little engine is being ball washed, and then it's got the ignition timing cranked up way too far to actually make that go. So yeah, I was actually very happy that I got called out to come and tune this particular one, because in reality this engine was very, very good. There was no smoke coming out the back, so we called it in time before it got damaged. And it had far too much ignition advance to actually generate any power and actually hurt itself. So yeah, let's continue with the tune and see where we get up to. Okay, I haven't moved on to the carb. Some of you might notice the dizzy's out. So why is the dizzy out? Well, we've got a problem with the advance curve, and it's an unusual one. And the problem is, someone's been in here and re-sprung the dizzy. Unfortunately, I haven't got a clue what they're doing for this engine, because what they've done is hacked out the advance stop. So we've got huge amounts of advance. We're getting about 35 degrees, 36 degrees of advance. And it's all fully advanced by 2000 revs. Now for this engine, it's going to pink and rattle itself to bits with that. So unfortunately, we're going to need to change the distributor. So currently, the owner is seeing if he's got a spare one, and then we can go from there. Wow, this one is really showing that it needs some work. So somebody's obviously been in here fiddling, and they fitted in a distributor with an absolutely woeful advance curve. So 36 degrees they've let that distributor advanced out of the crankshaft. And obviously, so if you put that engine in with say 8-10 degrees static, you're going to have 46 degrees at the crank, which is not going to end well. And the other thing about that is they put 2 light springs in it, thinking that's going to boost the performance, but in actual fact, because it's a high compression engine, it's going to pink and rattle and do itself mischief in the lower rev ranges. So that distributor was going from basically 0 crank advance to about 36 degrees, all by 2000 RPM. So there was no control, it was just full in. So yeah, let's see how I fix it. Okay, so moving on, we've rebuilt the Dizzy, got one of my 998 high compression bottom halves recurved, and then in it I've taken out the cheap condenser, and we've got the heavy duty one from Mini Spares, and we've also got their performance rotor arm gone in there as well. So what we're going to do now is get that in, get it timed up, and then hopefully we can now move on to the carburetor. So I carry with me when I'm out on the road a number of distributors, and I was able to supply the customer there with a AC Dodd recurved bottom half distributor, which was basically another 59D with a fast road curve, but for the high compression engine. So one of the things is when you call me out, I generally have a selection of distributors with different advances in for just these occasions. So in this particular case, I was able to select one, build it up, and then we could move on with the tune. Okay, so got this one all dialed in. We had an AAF needle in the dashpot. It was too lean at 5,000 revs. I've also drilled the airbox. So yeah, this one's really good now. So we're going to let the owner out in it now, and I think they're going to enjoy that. So I can confirm that that engine did indeed improve massively, and the owner was actually quite shocked at how well it went after the tune, which was excellent. So they were very, very happy with the performance. So with that being said, let's move on to their next vehicle, which is a lovely mini pickup. Okay, next car. Look at this beautiful pickup. It's a late one. Very nice car though. Lovely daily driver, beautiful car. Look at that. Under the bonnet. Again, the engine number says it's an 850, but looking at it, I think it's a 998. But anyway, nevertheless, my job is to get it all dialed in. So let's get stuck in. Now, you may have already noticed I'm already stuck in, but anyway, we've got a 3 ohm coil. We've got points ignition, which all seems to be working at the moment. I haven't checked the advance curve, but we're just doing that. But what I have done is I've taken the plugs out and had a look. We're using it. We're quite oily inside, so obviously engine that's been bore washed or running rich for a long time. But plugs that come out of it are black. So these are the plugs. As you can see, we've got a nice even coating. So the good news is, at least it's running on all cylinders, but same ailments. So we've got far too much gap, and we're running a whole set of 6s in this one. So we're going to change them for a set of BP5s, gap them to 25 thou, and then move on with the tune. So second car, same ailments, running very rich. The jet was wound down on this one, but not as much as the first car. But it just goes to show you that common problems are out there, and this one was no exception. So yeah, followed the same lines here really, which was basically carve the fuel out of it, put the right spark plugs in them, gap them properly, and move on to the next issue. So we're getting on. We changed the put a new set of HT leads on, nice set of power sparks there, set of BP5 plugs. The distributor was all good, points were all good, so I've left them, although the timing was about 12 degrees too much advanced. So what I've done is obviously I had to retard that back. Now that was a bit tricky, because on this particular engine, I don't know if you can see that, but if you look at the base of the distributor, see someone's been attacking it, and that's a sign that obviously all was not well. And what that basically means is it was very tight, so I had to free this off. So I carefully did that and managed to make it move, which is good. The vacuum unit's all working. So yeah, very similar to the last one. We've got a 3 ohm coil. Yeah, so nice and basic, good advance curve. Moving our attention to the carburetor. Similar issue to last time, it was set a bit rich, however not as bad. The only issue I think I've got this time is the damper is a little bit stiff, so I'm going to work on that now. And we're also going to drill the airbox, and then obviously it should be ready. So let's get on to that. Okay, so this one's all ready to go for a test drive. We've got ended up with an ABD needle. I tried an AAF. It was just a touch fat, so it was you know, sort of 0.85, 0.86 across the rev range. So ABD needle was bought us somewhere near right. 2050 oil was too thick, so I had to go down to 530 in there. But now she's lovely. That's silky smooth and just the way I like it. So let's get it out for a test drive. Okay, that brings it to the end for this particular episode. Two lovely cars there, so I thank the owner very much for letting me film that, and just to pass on some of the finer points of what not to do in terms of having your mixture set, or what to look for if you're trying to see if somebody else has done the job properly, for example. But I can confirm that the owner was very happy. Obviously I've already said with the first car, but they were also very happy with the second car. The second car basically had what looks to be an A series 998 in it with the disc pistons. So yeah, performance wise wasn't quite as sharp as the first car because it was a lower compression engine with less camshaft, which is what happens when you go, the differences between the A and the A plus engine. But the engine performed very well nonetheless, and the owner was very, very happy with it. So without further ado, I will say please like, share and subscribe, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thank you very much.